Hey.
Kawhi Leonard, the most unintentionally funny dude you've probably ever come across.
I just can't give you a whole spiel. Shit. I don't even know where you're sitting at.
But besides the fun memes, Kawhi turned into a Hall of Fame level career out of nowhere. No one would have imagined this shy guy with a weird laugh would go on to put together the resume he has as a mid-first round pick in the 2011 NBA draft. But his story, including his challenging upbringing, will make you think differently about the Claw. Here's the story of Kawhi. Kawhi Leonard in college was good, but not great. He was a solid player that was recognized more for his defense than anything else, and he was far from being the dominant offensive force we see today. He wasn't very polished defensively, but as an athlete, he's a really explosive one. So he scored the majority of his points with his basket attacks off the ball, and at 6'7", he could make use of his size to power through any defense. Well, here's the thing. Kawhi's rise to superstardom was really unexpected. He was a guy who couldn't shoot at all in college. He shot just 20% from 3 in his freshman year at San Diego State and never averaged more than 15 points per game through any season of his collegiate career. Just watching him operate on the college stage, it was primarily his toughness and tenacious defense that led to transition scoring for Kawhi. And in half court, Kawhi would hinge on his size and athleticism to work through defenses and score more with his physicality than his jumper, which is so far from the Kawhi that we know today, where he's using his size and consistent shooting touch to easily get to his favorite spots around the mid-range to pull up for one of the most efficient jumpers in the league today. And now Kawhi is being put in the same conversation with some of the most offensively gifted players in NBA history. Head coach Doc Rivers even put Kawhi in the same light as Michael Jordan from a size and ability standpoint.
The most like Jordan that we've seen. Like, there's a lot of great players. LeBron is phenomenal. KD is phenomenal. But when you, not that he is Jordan or anything like that, but he's the most like him.
Witnessing Kawhi's improvement on a year-in and year-out basis, Kawhi still stands as one of the great season-to-season progressions by a non-lottery pick in NBA history. LeBron, MJ, Kobe, Magic, Shaq, they were high draft picks and were expected to shift the entire culture of a franchise and put them on a consistent winning trajectory. But this quiet, awkward kid from San Diego State, drafted 15th overall, went from not being able to shoot anything outside of 10 feet and averaging just 8 points in his rookie season to winning a Finals MVP at age 22 and likely had one of the most underrated careers of a future Hall of Famer. Going back to Tim Duncan's final season in San Antonio, Kawhi was showing why he was soon getting ready to take the mantle, as he began assuming the responsibilities of being the best player on a really good team. Now, keep in mind, Kawhi was drafted to a very much alive Spurs dynasty, and he progressed in the shadows of Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, and Manu Ginobili, which is why some of his rise to greatness feels so strange. And from the 2015 season, or Duncan's final year in the NBA, Kawhi's minutes went up, but the more telling stat was his usage rate on the team, which skyrocketed from 25% to 32%, telling you that even the Spurs realized this kid was special, so they started featuring him the most. This was truly something no one saw coming. This guy was getting compared to Shawn Marion and Gerald Wallace coming out of college 5 years later, entering 2016 as one of the top 5 favorites to win the regular season MVP, even over guys like KD and Steph Curry. But the one drawback of Kawhi's career was one crucial thing: his health. Unfortunately, Kawhi was never the most durable player, and that goes for him today too. And this led to a lot of things later in Kawhi's career, most notably load management. But we'll get to that in a minute. But until this infamous moment that effectively ended Kawhi's career in San Antonio, no one said too much about Kawhi's fragility or expressed any concerns over his health long term. And as we all know now, this moment right here was the beginning of the end for Kawhi in San Antonio. He played only 9 games during the 2017 season and didn't think he was healthy, but the Spurs did. Kawhi said he wasn't feeling right, but the Spurs cleared him to play anyway. And Kawhi didn't like that. And then that was the last of Kawhi in San Antonio. Long story short, Kawhi was at war with his own team the entire season, which is exactly why, just months later, Kawhi was sent to Toronto after requesting to be traded. Despite playing just 9 games and coming off a significant injury, teams didn't care about that. They knew just how good he was, and they all wanted him. Because he could do this, this, and a whole lot of this. Even with only 1 year left on his contract and with Kawhi's eyes set on LA, the Toronto Raptors still took a chance on Kawhi and hoped they could convince him to stay like OKC convinced Paul George to stay 1 more season after his contract was up. And even though it was only 1 season, it was a remarkable, memorable season that made Kawhi a Canadian legend forever. The 2019 season was truly something special for Kawhi and all of Canada. He firmly established himself once again as one of the top 5 players in the NBA. Despite playing only 60 games in the 2019 season, he still put up ridiculous averages of 30.2 points per game on 49% shooting from the floor throughout the postseason and finals, and began hearing his name with the likes of Michael Jordan. Oh, and let's not forget this moment, which was simply one of the most iconic plays in NBA history. It wasn't just the numbers he was putting up, it was how he was doing it, and how he looked doing it. The defense stance was like Mike's, the hand size, the off-balance one-leg kick on the mid-range jumpers, the natural upper body strength, and the crafty offensive game that made us think we were watching a prime Michael Jordan in 1993 dancing with the basketball out there. It really was beautiful to watch. After his season with Toronto, where Kawhi only played 60 games for the Raptors due to injuries and load management, his health was still no doubt a pretty large concern for some of the teams that were getting ready to make their pitch to him during free agency. There was even a media frenzy that was all focused on whether Kawhi will go to a different team or stay with the Raptors. There were people tracking private jets to see where Kawhi was going, helicopters following Kawhi while he was in a convoy, and even Drake got involved in trying to keep Kawhi rooted in Toronto. Outside of all the media attention, it was really Kawhi's style of play that made teams fall in love with him more so than anything. And when MJ's ex-trainer comes out and makes the comparison, how can we not? After deciding to go back to his hometown and play for the Los Angeles Clippers, Kawhi's battle with injuries has persisted even until now. He missed all of 2022 recovering from a torn ACL he suffered in the 2021 playoffs, which was a huge bummer because of how elite this man was playing before getting hurt. And he could have very well gotten the Clippers to their first NBA Finals ever, only if. But when he's on the court, he doesn't look much different than he did when he was a 27-year-old MVP in Toronto, and he's even better now compared to his earlier days with the Spurs. Even in only 52 games this past season, Kawhi put up nearly 24 points a game on a career-high 42% from 3, leading you to believe he's as good as anyone in basketball when he's close up to playing at 100%. Kinda like this vintage performance just this past April in the first game of the playoffs against the star-studded Suns. It's moments like these that show you how special of a talent he is on both ends. Pair that polished, smooth jump shot with his MJ-esque playstyle and his elite offense. Oh man, now that's something serious. While load management and constant injuries have fogged our memory of the player Kawhi's been for so long in the NBA, we've seemingly forgotten his unique rise to superstardom and his special play on both sides of the ball that make him one of the most unique talents the league has ever seen. And he did, of course, lead a team to their very first ever championship and won the hearts of an entire nation. Don't get it twisted, they still love him up in Toronto, and that championship will always be historic. On any given night, we don't know how long he'll play or if he'll play again, but all we know is this: any team can be a title contender with Kawhi leading the troops. What do you think of Kawhi Leonard? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and don't forget to subscribe to Home for Hoops.